Hello, and welcome to another session of Recent Thoughts, the podcast where I talk about internal problems or internal topics and general overall topics that I just like to ramble about. Today's topic will be about, and I already talked about that in one of the previous episodes of the podcast. It will be about Arma 3 in particular. The reasoning for this is very simple, and I'll talk about that as well in a minute. But yeah, the previous episode of video games, I talked about the games that I liked and the games that I play now. And I didn't have a lot of time to express my love, my eternal love for Armor 3. So this is going to be a bit more nerdy, a bit more on the nerdy side. So if you just dislike that, if you just want to listen to me talking about depression and stuff like that, no, I'm sorry, but this is not going to be the episode for you. For the rest of you, feel free to put me in the background while you play a game or do homework or anything. And yes, on this note, we are going to start the timer of 15 minutes in 3, 2, 1, go. Right, so let's get to it. The very first, the reason as is, right? The reason why I am doing this, well, I mean, firstly, because I'm very interested in it, right? But second of all, I don't see Arma as a game anymore. I don't see, well, I mean, Arma 3 in particular. I never got into Arma 1 or Arma 2. Arma 1 or Arma 2 in particular has a very big history in the gaming genre, because from Arma 2, the DayZ mod was made, and from DayZ, PUBG was made, and then stuff like Apex Legends or Fortnite, right? But Arma 3, for me, is not a game anymore. And I want to elaborate on that. Arma 3 is more than just a game. For me, it's a community project, a community event. And I want to explain as to why. Arma 3, for the people that don't know, is a military simulator, right? Essentially, what it is a sandbox where you can do whatever you want. Arma 3 has a story mode, but it's not. I would say it's irrelevant. I've never like I have now I've already cracked 1,000 hours in Arma 3, and I've never played the story game. That's how good the rest of it is. So essentially, what Arma 3 is about is people getting together in a community to make a mission on a map, right? Make a mission for other players to play. So that is called Zeusing, because you're Zeus/God, right? You have a map, you have objects to set. So it's essentially you're making a game inside of a game, right? You're making your own lobby. And this, as is a brilliant method of just promoting your game, because then you don't even have to build anything. You have to have the main game, and then you can tell your players do whatever the hell you want. In a matter of a sense, it's like Gmod. If you know Gmod or something like, I don't know, TTT or something that is hosted on Gmod, it's a Gmod. Sorry, it's just a game mode that people made up. And so what happened in Arma 3 is because the Arma developers made it so popular, units started forming. Units are essentially just groups of people where you can essentially get together and play those missions. But what makes it fun is the mods. The mods, as is, are incredibly fun, because I've never, well, I mean, probably Skyrim and something like that, but Arma has an incredible amount of mods. And that doesn't only involve quality of life mods. No. So Arma 3 is currently based in the standard kind of experience of a modern war, right? Or a modern conflict, with everything from M4s to like standard soldiers' outfits, right? But what makes it fun is that people have started making mods on, for example, different periods of time, right? Say a mod for World War II, right, where World War II weapons get introduced, or tanks, or anything else, right? So Arma 3 has a very wide arrangement of literally everything, and people have made mods to make it as realistic as possible. Or you can go into the entirely other way and make it as unrealistically as possible. For the longest amount of time, I have been, and I joined it and I never left it. A unit called the Sigma Security Group, SSG. The group is mainly focused on modern day warfare, right? So it's not it's not a lot of game breaking mods, but you have to see, the more mods a game has, the more unstable it's going to be. So the way it works in the Arma community is that you have Zeuses, right, that would make a mission or a mission file, get together, like say like, hey, this is a good place on the map, let's put down like a castle or something that some AI is going to defend, and then the players have to go there and, I don't know, take someone hostage, whatever, right? You have complete utter freedom in whatever you're doing. Some Arma developers / some Arma players actually have made servers that run completely publicly, where they have introduced something like ecosystems, right? So for example, I don't know exactly how it's called, but you can join a server where you have to, for example, mine for resources and then get, for example, a gun from those resources, and you can raid other people. So it's essentially Rust, right? But in Arma, it's great. So as I already said, for the longest time, I was in a unit called SSG, and this unit has a lot of realistic mods. For example, in the medical system, normally in any kind of game, you would essentially just revive a person by holding E, for example, right? There is a mod for Arma 3 that introduces the medical system as is, called, I think it's called Ace or Cat Medical. Ace Medical and Cat, whatever. The whole reason for it, for its existence, is to make it as realistic as possible, right? So for example, now you have a whole layout of your whole body. If you get shot in the leg, you can get wounded in the leg. And so what do you need to do as a standard soldier if wounded? You need to put bandages on it to not bleed out. Bleeding out introduces a bleeding system / a blood system. So a medic has to have, for example, blood in his backpack, in his inventory, right? So if someone bleeds out a lot, he can inject blood, and that person gets better in that case. And there is a lot of stuff to learn about, which is great. This game introduces, it's not about the playing, right? It's about the community as is. It's about learning, it's about getting to know people, and it's about team playing. Because you don't play against other players. You can sometimes do that, but most of the units introduce a PvE system where you would learn strategic and actual, like, military moves from the actual military. A lot of people that play Arma 3 have been or are still enlisted in the military, so they bring a lot of realistic experience to the game. And that's exactly what I like about it. It's incredibly realistic, and it doesn't, like, in normal games, say Fortnite, whatever, you have a squad, and some of those people can go on the other side of the map or something, or run around like monkeys or something, and get away with it. And it's fine, it's just a game, right? Because it's supposed to be very kind of like arcadey, right? Not in Arma. In Arma, you are incredibly vulnerable because it's realistic. You get shot in the head, you go down. You get shot in the arm, you can't aim anymore because it doesn't make sense, right? You get shot in the leg, you can't sprint. And some of the people that host or host these units, they make their own rules regarding that. But most of the time, you are a bag of flesh on a map where everything can kill you, right? And so what you need to do is you need to be able to play in a team with people, and stay together in that team. It's a squad, essentially, right? And the coolest thing is that people like in the modding community in Arma are so creative. Before, you couldn't interact with your fellow people in Arma 3, right? You had to go onto a TeamSpeak call or a Discord call. But there is a mod for that, where you load into a TeamSpeak channel, or into a TeamSpeak server, and when you join a game, join down in the map, you get transferred to another TeamSpeak voice chat, which is proximity based in the game. So the cool, like it's essentially like talking in real life, but in a game, and you can set modes of like screaming or whispering and stuff like that. How do you speak over great distances? For example, if you have 2 squads, right? Say 2 squads via 5 people, and one of them is like a kilometer away, right? How do you do that? Well, there's a mod for that. It's just a radio, right? So the game takes realism fairly strict, but also there's mods that don't make any sense or are just unrealistic and there to make, to just make fun stuff happen, right? And so our unit, or the unit, I was in SSG. I still am. I just don't play there anymore. I have met so many good friends there. To this day, we still play, and it's great. It's amazing. It's the friends that you make in the game that make the game fun, because it's not about the game. It's about the people that are in the game, right? And we took things very realistically, and it's great because, for example, if you're trying to talk over the radio and a lot of people, you have like 20 people in a squad, right? And if you're talking along the radio, and if everyone would do that, then there would be complete chaos. So what you do is you break it down into a hierarchy. For example, there is a squad leader that leads like 5 people, and then there's multiple squads, so you need a leader for those leaders to lead the squads. And if you talk to anyone, you have to talk in a format, because that just makes sense in a mission. You say, hey, you, this is me, this is what I have to say, right? So that's great. And I've transferred into another unit called the 2012, which, if you are a big Star Wars fan, it's called a Star Sim unit. So Arma 3 has a big community. It's called Star Sims, where it's essentially units in a Star Wars canon universe. That is incredibly cool. It is incredibly cool. And the 212 is, if anyone here watches Star Wars, it is Obi-Wan Kenobi's clone platoon, and the unit is very, very big. It's got a good amount of people, I think 100 or more even. And there are platoon. There's the platoon, and it's divided into 4 smaller platoons via like 50 people, right? And imagine you play with 50 people. You have to organize yourselves through the game. So you have to have the hierarchy. You have armored assets running along you. You have, I don't know, whatever. You have people that fly you into the zone, because you can't just respawn. You can do that, but here we have actual transport units, so people that specialize in flying, for example, where you can actually just connect a if you know this flight stick or flight joystick, I don't know what they're called. You can do that via mod to Arma. So Arma is a very, very customizable game, and the coolest thing for me is the community, because you get to know people there, and you spend a lot of time in a squad, and all of those people, they do the same thing. They play this game, and in a unit with a lot of people, you can imagine how cool that can get. how many certifications you can get. Anti-tank, grenadier, medic, fire team leader, and stuff like that. You don't have to study for it, but you have to go through workshops, for example, if that community values these kinds of things, because, for example, medics have a lot of responsibility, because people can't just medic themselves up. That's not how it works in real life, right? You can bandage yourself, but you cannot stitch yourself in battle. That doesn't make sense. You need your wounds to be closed. So for the sake of the operation, for the whole unit not to die at once in one mission, you need to have a competent medic. So you need to have a workshop, and it just involves everything around that. So in short, it is not a game for me. It's more than just a game. It has surpassed the title of a game, and it's a community for me, which is why I just love it. It's not about shooting, it's about the people. And I love it exactly for that reason. And if you want to, their Arma 3 has their own website where you can find units and where you can just join them. You don't have to search for them yourself. By the way, we are out of time currently. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to plug this. Arma 3, just Google Arma 3 units if you want to join a unit. That's it. And it's great because you can choose from people, and normally it's 18 plus, so no children allowed, I guess, and that's just good as well, I guess. And you have total freedom over what you can do. So yeah, I hope you were not too bored about me talking about Arma 3, but it's just that this episode is something that I have wanted to do for a long time. It is essentially the reason why I make these podcasts. I don't have somebody to talk about like Arma 3, or say just completely different feelings, right? Complete like feelings like sadness or anything. So I just said, screw this, I'm going to talk to the internet. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed your time here. And I will see you thank you for listening. I'm sorry. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and I'm always down to start a conversation with you. And as always, thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.